Just one second. Network seems to be quite slow here. Okay, first of all, while the PowerPoint, while the OneNote opens, let me tell you that till now we have seen the for loop, all the loop constructs in fact, and in fact in the 2 to 3 class we also observed that how can we use loops within loops, and how can we use multiple variables within the so that the multiple variables will be declared together and they will get updated together. So here, so now we'll use all these loop constructs. So till now we have seen if, else, switch case, and all the loops. We are almost about to finish this phase of C programming language, and then some of you is unmuted. Kindly mute yourself. And whereas the next phase that we will discuss, first of all, to check with the other section whether it is possible to have class from 10 to 1 or not, or 10 to 12 or not, because I have some duty from 1.
Sir,
Saturday when? Some of
hello.
you is unmuted. If you have nothing to ask, kindly mute yourself. Some of you mentioned about Saturday. When you will be free on Saturday?
Sir, no, sir. I was asking that are you taking class on Saturday or Sunday?
If you are free on Saturday, I'll much prefer Saturday on this weekend, because Sunday it will not be possible to take class except on morning.
Sir,
Bolo. So discuss with the other section as well. If none of you have quiz or something like that, let me know whether this will be Saturday or Sunday. Okay.
okay, sir.
Now, so now in fact, all these complex constructs of loops and everything, they can quite well understood by looking into by forming various patterns. So here in this class we'll study about the patterns, and from the next class we'll go to the next phase of programming, that is arrays, pointers, functions, and so on. Let me start with the simplest pattern. In this class, I'll tell you, suppose you have been given a pattern, how to think the logic behind the pattern, and then how to implement it. Okay. Let me start with the simplest pattern. Suppose a star, then 2 stars on the next line, then 3 stars on the next line, and so on. User will provide the number of rows. As for example, this is the input for this is output for 4 rows. In the case of 5 rows, there will be another row of star with 5 stars here. Now the question is how to create one such. The fact is, here you can observe that on ith row there are I stars, right? So now suppose the input is n. Okay, so for first of all you have to print it for each row individually. So for int I is equal to 0, in fact rather than 0, let me start it from 1. I is equal to 1, I less than is equal to n, I plus plus, and then here we'll write simply for int j is equal to 1, j less than is equal to I, j plus plus. Now let me mention about one function that is available in the studio.h as well. Using printf, you can print strings, right? Now, in fact, there is a much faster method of printing a single character, that is putchar. Eventually, internally, printf invokes this putchar again and again. So, putchar that will put a simply one single character. Okay, and you can also print a new line using putchar as well. Okay, in fact, this is faster than printf. Obviously, printf this would also print. It would also do the same job. But printf takes string as input, that's why double quote is here. But putchar takes a character as input, so two single quotes are around them. Now, how this is going to do this task? Let me execute it step by step. Let me show you step by step. I is equal to 1. This is called, first of all, as I've told you, always perform pen and paper simulation given any particular code to see what that code is performing. This is the best way to understand any logic. Even on later, bolo, some of you are asking something.
Putchar cannot print the string.
No, putchar cannot print string. Putchar will print only character. Putchar as parameter takes only character. Okay, but we'll check that out. Don't worry. Even later on, those who are in CSI 10, when you'll study algorithms, algorithms is really a fascinating subject. That given any particular problem, how to think the logic, what are the various logics out there created by other computer scientists and so on. There, to understand any logic, always remember this one single procedure to understand any algorithm, even any complex algorithm you'll see in your life. Do a pen and paper simulation. Okay, it will be tedious. Even sometimes it takes days to understand a single algorithm at very advanced level, not at the algorithm we'll study in this course, in the BTech course. But using pen and paper simulation, nothing can beat that to understand any particular logic. Well, so I is equal to 1. Now observe here. J is equal to 1, j less than is equal to I. So j starts from 1. Okay, putchar star. So it is going to print a star. Now j will increment, j will become 2. But this condition does not hold anymore because j has to be less than is equal to I, where I is 1. So star, this single star gets printed. So this for loop ends, right? This inner for loop ends. Then putchar new line. So cursor is here now. Okay, then the value of I. So this complete block done, I becomes 2. Okay, for I is equal to 2, again this inner for loop restarts. Start from j is equal to 1. So a star gets printed. Then j increments again to 2, right? 2 is still less than is equal to 2, right? So another star gets printed. Then j becomes 3 and this condition is false. In fact, if you observe always, if you run a loop from 1 to less than is equal to n, that means this loop is going to run n number of times. Okay, and when you are going to run a loop I is equal to less than is equal to I, that means this loop is going to run I number of times, right? So for I is equal to 2, this loop is going to run I number of times, that means 2 times, and 2 stars is going to be printed. Then this inner for loop ends and cursor comes here. Then the value of I becomes 3. Okay, the value of I becomes 3, and this inner for loop runs again 3 times. So 3 stars. There is some bug in this. I'm writing here, but it is appearing here. But anyway, consider the space bit. What's happening? Just 1 second. Just wait. I think some bug has appeared. I is equal to 3. Okay. So 3 stars here. So for I is equal to 3, it is going to print I number of times. So 3 stars is going to be printed. Then another new line. I gets incremented. Now if user has provided n is equal to 3, that means wants to print 3 rows. So this complete loop is going to run 3 times. And it has executed 3 times. It will break. In fact, not break, it will go out of the loop, but this is a common terminology. Break at I is equal to 4. The loop will break at I is equal to 4 if the input is n is equal to 3. So as you can see that this is going to give you the same structure as desired. So let me write this code. We'll write patterns one by one. Mistakenly give comma here. So I'm going to take this n from user. Some of you is unmuted. Mute yourself. For j is equal to 1, j less than is equal to I, j plus plus. Now let me first check. Putchar, does it take string? I'll put another putchar with character here. So gcc pattern.c, no. In fact, it does not give you error, but at least it gives you a warning, right? It will not give you error, but it will give you warning. And this is another thing I want to say. Even on letter, sometimes warnings are unavoidable. You cannot avoid them. But whenever it is avoidable, avoid it like an error. Okay? Because you can see the putchar makes integer from pointer without a cast. What happens is that putchar in fact takes an integer as a parameter. But whenever you are passing a string, the address of the string will go as the parameter, because string itself is not an integer, but a character is. Okay, because a character is an integer. So let me give 4, and this is the pattern that got generated. So following our logic. Is it clear to all of you? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let me go for a bit more complex pattern. Let me do it in different color. Now let me put the star on the right hand side. Okay. Now you have to think about the logic here. What is that logic? There are certain amount of space before every star. Okay, how many spaces? First observe. Suppose n is 4. Find the pattern first. First row, 1 means I am representing here as first row. Okay, 3 spaces, 1 star. Second row, 2 spaces, 2 sorry, this is star, 2 star. Third row, 1 space, 3 star. Whereas on the fourth row, there are 0 spaces and 4 star. Now pattern is the number of spaces is decreasing from 3 to 0 and number of star is increasing from 1 to 4. Now can you represent it in terms of n? So
N
in general,
minus I.
yes, good. So this we can write as n minus 1. This we can write as n minus 2. This we can write as n minus 3, and this we can write as n minus 4. Right? Whereas this, as previously, we can write as corresponding I. So in general, in the ith row, there are n minus I number of spaces and I number of stars. This is the pattern. So how the code will become? First, obviously, you have to turn the n number of rows. Now, for each row, I is representing the row, right? I starting from 1, 2, 3, 4. First, you have to print n minus I number of spaces. So I am going to put a space here, and then for then I number of stars. And after printing, there will be a new line. This will be the logic. Is the logic clear to all of you? So for each row, I am printing n minus I number of spaces, then I am printing I number of stars. So first n minus I number of spaces are being printed. This for loop ends after printing n minus I number of spaces. Then this for loop starts printing I number of stars. Then it prints a new line. Then it goes to the next row by incrementing I. Is it clear to all of you? Let me execute this here. So first I have to, there will be I number of stars, but before that I have to print n minus I number of spaces. And this will simply shift all our stars. Suppose 4 I am giving again, and this is the output. But observe one thing is that I think all of you have observed this by now. When I have declared I am not declaring I in any other in inner for loops, because that will make the same variable declared twice, which is an error. But here I am declaring j 2 times because this j has scope only within this putchar. Right? So this j has scope only within for this line. So from this line, this j is not visible here anymore, whereas this j is visible on these two lines. So you can write this j quite safely in two separate loops at the same level. Okay, but you cannot declare I again here, right? Now I'm going to show you the next pattern. Whenever you will face any problem in understanding any logic, let me know. Okay, I am showing the patterns one by one and telling you the logics. Now I am going to put it at the middle, the star. So 1 star, then 3 stars, then suppose 5 stars, okay, and so on. This will simply just increase in this direction. Now we have to count the number of spaces and the number of stars. But observe one thing, there is no reason to count the number of spaces after, because as soon as I print the last star, we can immediately get to the new line. So we have to count the number of spaces in front of the first star. Okay. Now let me write here as well. Observe that at each step, the number of stars is increasing by 2. With that, on the first line, on the first row, there are 3 spaces. N is 4. Okay, there are 3 spaces, 1 star. On the second row, there are 2 spaces here, 1 space for this and another space for this. So 2 spaces, 3 star. Whereas on the third line, there are 3 spaces. Sorry, there is 1 space, but 5 star. Whereas on the fourth line, there is 0 space, 7 star. So this number of spaces is exactly like the previous one. So on the ith stage, on the ith row, there are n minus I number of spaces, whereas 2i minus 1 number of stars. Observe the pattern. For n is equal to 2, this is just like the previous one, n minus I number of spaces, and 2i minus 1 number of stars. This will be the pattern, right? If you put this here, 2 into I minus 1, okay, and print out the pattern, you'll see the pattern created like this. Any query till now? Now let me make it in fact I'm making it a complex step by step. Now suppose if user gives n is equal to 4, it will increase up to 4th row, then it will decrease continuously. Okay, let me write another one rather. And in a separate color. And suppose the input is for 4, that will create a rhombus like structure. This is for n is equal to 4. So that will increase up to 4, then that will decrease all the way up to 1. Ha, bolo.
Sir, in that previous one, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Sir, I see that when I give large inputs like 10 or 15, I see a tilt in the pattern, sir. Like base is getting increased.
Just let me check. Suppose I am giving 15. Why? It is still giving me same output?
Don't know, sir. For some patterns, it is giving.
Are
Okay.
you, do you have your terminal size sufficiently large?
I think yes, sir.
Then it should not be. Can you show me a can you paste a screenshot of that in the chat box?
Sir, I observed it long back. I don't have now. If I get, I'll definitely post.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No. So suppose I want to print this rhombus-like structure. Now here we have to do this in the two phases. First phase is same as this one. Okay, there is no problem in that. Now the second phase. In the second phase, it is decrementing starting from n minus 1. So up to 4 you have given this. Up to 4 it has been printed. There is no point to start calculating the second phase from 4 again. If you do that, it will print this same row again, right? So second phase will start from n minus 1. Okay, and what it is doing, it is decrementing step by step. Let's calculate. Consider this as the first row now. Okay, so in the first row, what do we have? 1 space 5 stars. Okay, in the second row, n minus 1 in this case is 3. In the second row, there are 2 space and 3 stars. And in the third phase, in a third row, there are 3 space, right? 1 space, 2 space, then 3 space. 3 space and 1 star only. Now, what is the pattern here? Obviously, on the ith row, there are I number of spaces, but how many stars? 2i to n minus 1 minus I, okay, plus 1. Let me check. I have written it, but let me check myself once. When n minus 1, 3, when I is equal to 1, so 3, n minus 1 is 3, right? So 3 minus 1, 2, 2 into 2 plus 1, 5. When I is equal to 2, so 3 minus 2, 1, 2 into 1 plus 1, that is 3. So in fact, we can write this something like this, 2 into n minus I minus 1. This is just a calculation of this. So this should also work. 2 into n minus I minus 1. So there will be I number of spaces and this many number of stars. Is the logic clear to all of you till now?
Yes, sir.
Now, so let me modify our program. First phase, this will print the first n rows as it is normally. Now, the second phase will start from n minus 1. Okay, and it will go. In fact, there will be n minus 1 phases, and I can start with I is equal to 1 as well. N minus 1 I plus plus. And in each phase, there will be I number of spaces. Followed by 2 into n minus I minus 1 number of into n minus I minus 1 this many number of stars. Okay, and print a new line. Now let's see if this is giving me the output. Let me use it 4, and yes, it's giving me the output. If I use for 7, it is increasing all the way up to 7, then it is decreasing. Okay, so when you see a pattern, first find the numbers, then look the pattern into the numbers. If the pattern is really creating some meaningful pattern, then you will always find some increasing, decreasing, some pattern in the numbers as well. N is equal to 4. Let me use 7 stars here, then 5 stars, then 3 stars, then 1 star, 4 rows. Now this pattern, obviously there will be two phases. First phase will print up to this, and second phase will print this. I am giving you 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Tell me the pattern for the first page. I am observing. I want to see who is going to give me the first pattern.
Sir, last question.
Sir, can you say again, sir?
Yeah, let me show that. This is, if you want to see for 3 as well, there will be 5 here, then this one here, then this one here. This is exactly opposite of the rhombus. Then this will here. Find the pattern.
Sir.
बोलो फर्स्ट फेज में क्या होगा?
Sir, first phase will be the second phase of the last question.
Okay, but not exactly. Think about it carefully, because
lines are different.
Because the number of spaces will be different.
Sir, the spaces are in terms of I only, and the stars
Yes,
are
sir.
2 into n minus I plus 1.
2 into n minus. Okay.
I.
So you want to. So you're saying that there will be I number of spaces,
Yes,
and
sir.
2 into n minus I plus 1
Sir,
number of.
I minus 1 spaces.
Yes, I minus 1 spaces.
I
Because
minus.
I is starting from 1.
Sir, yes.
Then how many stars?
Sir, the stars are
2 into n minus I.
no, sir. 2 into n minus I plus 1.
Okay. Let me see. Let me put this into formula. First row, 0 space, and 4 minus 1, so 7 stars. If it is matched for 1, it will match for everything. 1 space in the second row, 2 minus 1, and 4 minus 2, 5 stars. Yes, good. So this will do. This is the pattern for the upper phase or first phase. Now tell me about the second phase. Second phase, again, just like the previous one, it will start from n minus 1.
Yes, sir.
Calculate the second phase. Anyone?
Sir, I
what?
I minus I plus 2, sir. A number of space.
I
Space
plus
plus
2 spaces. Okay. And number of stars?
No, sir. I plus 2 नहीं sir. I minus I plus 2, sir.
I minus I plus 2.
So I think he's saying n minus I plus 2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. N minus I plus 2, sir.
Okay. And number of stars?
Number of star अभी नहीं किया, sir.
करो. When I is 1, n minus 1 plus 2.
So that would be, so the stars would be in terms of plus 1, so it would be minus 1. 2 into n minus I minus 1.
2 into n minus I minus 1 star. And is he correct about the number of spaces?
So I am checking it.
See, eventually I'll run it from I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, just n minus 1. Okay. So
the spaces are coming to be wrong.
yes, this will not be the number of spaces. Now tell me the right spaces.
So n minus I.
N minus I. Isn't it I plus 1? No, sorry, I'm also wrong. So at I is equal to 1, at I is equal to 1, there are two spaces.
Sir, n minus I minus 1.
N
N
minus
minus I minus.
n minus I minus 1. So when I is equal to 1, 4 minus 2 minus 1, what is giving? 4 minus 2, sorry, 4 minus 1 minus 1, two spaces, yes, two spaces. When I is equal to 2, 4 minus 2 minus 1, single space. When I is equal to 3, 4 minus 3 minus 1, zero space. Good. So that will be n minus I minus 1 number of spaces and 2 into n minus 1 minus 1 number of stars. Okay, this one is correct. That I have checked. Okay, because let me show you the show you to the rest. When I is equal to 1, 2 into 3 minus 1. Are you sure this is no? This is also not correct. This is not correct as well. Correct it. Number of spaces is correct now. N minus I minus 1 number of spaces. It is now correct. For 1, there are 2 spaces. For I is equal to 1, there are 2 spaces, 3 stars. For I is equal to 2, there are 1 space, 5 stars.
So is it 2I plus 1?
It is 2I plus 1. 2I plus 1 number of stars. Okay. So in the first phase, this is the number of space, this is the number of stars. In the second phase, that will go from I is equal to 1 to n minus 1. This is the number of spaces, this is the number of stars. Okay. Any of you have any question or any confusion? Just look into the pattern. When I is equal to 1, n is 4, I is equal to 1, so n minus 1 minus 1, 2, right? 2 space. So n and I is equal to 1 means 2 into 1 plus 1, so 3 stars. Similarly, we'll check for 2, there will be 1 space and 5 stars and so on. So if we implement this, let me implement it here. So there will be I minus 1 number of spaces first. Once you get this equation, the rest is breeze. 2 into n minus I plus 1 number of stars following it, and in the second phase that will go from I to n minus 1. There will be n minus I minus 1 number of spaces. So n minus I minus 1 number of spaces and 2i plus 1 number of stars. 2i plus 1 number of stars. And this is the output. This is the correct output. Okay. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Sir?
Bolo.
Sir, can you try for if we turn the pattern 180 degrees?
Okay. If we turn the pattern 180 degrees or 90 degrees?
180, sir.
If you turn this pattern 180, this will remain the same.
Okay, okay, 90 degrees.
90 degree.
Sir, such that in between two stars there is another star.
I couldn't understand what you just said.
Sir, in the
You are
first
saying
line,
this pattern, right?
sir, in the first line you drew 5 stars, no, sir.
Here.
So in the next line you will get 4. In the next line you will get 3.
No, I'm from the very first when I'm taking star in the middle, I'm taking it as the increasing in the pattern of 2.
Sure.
Okay. Otherwise you can do this as well, but if you draw 2 stars, there will be a space. You have to keep a space in between. Otherwise, how will you keep 2 stars? The stars are of same size, na? So either this star will be here or this star will be here, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you cannot draw something like this. It is not possible to be. It is not drawable because every space has a fixed amount of white. Every character is a fixed amount of white. Okay. And this one. So you are asking about this pattern.
Sir, I am asking that in the first line you got 5 stars, no, sir. In the next vertical line you should get 4, and then 3, 2, 1, and again 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, just 1 second. Suppose 5 stars here. Where did you put the you want me to draw 4 stars here? Where do you want me to start that star? Here or here?
Sir, in between the first and second star.
So there should be a space here.
Yes, sir.
That means you are saying me that star, then there is a space, there is a star, there is another space like this.
Yes, sir.
And here there will be the star, there will be the star. Okay, I understood. Suppose for n is equal to 3, you want this pattern.
Yes, sir. N equal to 3.
Okay, so there will be because I was considering them as consecutively all these stars. So there will be a space, then this is possible. Now, how to think about this? Look at the pattern. Firstly, this pattern is a bit challenging, but if you think it carefully, this can be solved as well. Each odd row, I have some network problem, let me write it directly here and I'll switch them there. Each odd row starts with a star. Each even row starts with a space. This is the first observation you can make, right? Then
Yes, sir.
this is also row starts and ends both, and this is also row starts and ends both. Now in the first row, after the first star there is no other star, rather, so how many spaces are there? Let me count this. 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 spaces, right? Considering that there is no space here as well, there is no space here, so there are 3 spaces from the first row to the last row. So first row space is 3. In the second row there will be a single space. I'm considering the space in between. Okay, so there will be a single space. In the third row, now there are 3 stars separated by a single, separated by space. Okay, now so it is showing variant behavior on defined rows. Let me draw a larger pattern. Let me draw with a
Go for
single
5, sir. N
point.
equals to 5.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Am I drawing at the correct location? This will be the same row. Okay, this will be the same row. Now here, this is here, this one is here, and this one is here. Now at the last row, this one is here, then this one, then this middle row. Just 1 second. In fact, I have garbled up the image quite a bit. Sorry about that. This one here and this one here. Now this one, not here, rather this will be this one, right? Then for the fourth one, this, and finally for the fifth one, this one. Now while drawing, I observed one thing, is that obviously every odd row starts with a star, every even row starts with a space. At every odd row, every odd position has a star. Not every odd position, but only the odd positions has star. Whereas in the even row, only the even positions has star. You observe this. So each odd row, only odd columns have star. Each even row, only even columns have star. Okay, this is column 1, column 2, this is 3, this is 4th column, this is 5th column, this is 6th, this is 7th, this is 8th, and this is 9th. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And another thing is that it is only the middle row, that means the 5th row, that has star at every odd number. and that is decrementing on both sides. In fact, we have to consider odd row and even row consecutively. So let me write the rules. Odd row. So for n is equal to 5, this is for odd row. Okay. I have n is equal to 5. Only fifth row has all the stars. Only nth row has star, considering n is odd as well. N is odd as well. Only nth row has star at each odd position. Okay. It decreases and increases on two sides. Okay. And for even row, it's also quite a bit same. Now, so what can be the rule on which row a particular star has? In the odd row, between two stars, as you can see, between 1 and 9, there are 7 gaps. So 1 star, 7 gaps, 1 star. In the second row, let me consider the odd rows only. The third row, 1 star, then 1 space, then 1 star. Then I'm interested about this space in the middle. So there are 4, 5, 6, 3 spaces. Okay, 3 spaces, and then another star, 1 space, 1 star. In the fifth row, it is only single space between each of them. 1 star, 1 space. And this pattern follows for 7, and this pattern follows for 9. Now from here, you can observe is that for ith row, there are I by 2 number of stars followed by stars. That means there are stars in between. Then the number of space, if the number of space is 1 here, four, 5, 6, it is 7. So 1 plus 2 plus 4, the next number of, that means it starts from the middle one. Then next, how many number of spaces would be there if the count would be 7? Observe that as well. Okay, if you observe that if we add 2 further rows, so if we add another row here and add another row here, this will be column 1, 2, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13 spaces would be there, because there will be 2 more rows on these sides. So our guess is correct. So it will be 6, right? So the number of spaces increases in this fashion. Is it clear to you till now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So on the in the middle one, in the nth row, there will be 1 space. In the n minus second row, if you start in the odd direction, it will be 3 space. If you go further n minus 2 direction, it will be 7 space. If you go n minus 2 further direction, it will be 13 spaces, like this. Okay, and this is purely in AP. It is in arithmetic progression. And what will be the evaluation of this AP? If you evaluate this AP, what will be the result? What will be the sum? Considering, I hope my calculation is correct. So for n is equal to 1, it is 1. At n is equal to 2, it is 3. At n is equal to 3, it is 7. And at n is equal to 4, it is 13. So it's correct. But only thing is that it is in the opposite direction. So in the first row, the number of spaces eventually is 1 plus n is 5. So this I should consider as 3, right? Why it is 3? Because it is 5 minus 1, then so 5 plus 1 by 2. So this will in fact, at the place of n, I have to put n plus 1 by 2. So 1 plus n plus 1 by 2, and here n plus 1 by 2 minus 1. Okay, and this in fact will lead to that again this is in reverse direction. So this is in fact coming as n minus 1, so n square minus 1 by 4. Let me check once. So at the fifth row, when n is, I'm considering fifth row as 1, so there is one space. Then in the second row, I think I made some mistake here. Just let me think. Just give me 2 minutes. N is equal to 5. The space is 1, and it is increasing in this order, increasing reverse order. So I have to reverse it somehow. But how? But in odd manner. I have to reverse it in the odd order. What we can do is that, let me think this a bit. Okay, today's class is in fact done. Okay, I'll in fact going to think about this. It may take even more 5 to 10 minutes. So those who are not interested may leave this session, or if you have any question before me diving into this problem, you can ask. After that, let me dive into that problem. And those who want to see the way of thinking, I don't know whether I'll be able to reach the final point as well, but obviously after trying maybe within 15 minutes, maybe I'll be able to get the solution. Those who want to see that may stay here, and before that, any of you can ask me any question regarding today's discussion.
Sir, if you solve it and tell us in the next class.
Yeah, sure, that's also possible. That's what I said. If you want to see me solving this, you can stay here, but otherwise you can leave as well, because today's class is anyway done. Okay.
Sir, will you be able to briefly explain this problem in the next class again?
Obviously, because this is a really challenging pattern. Okay.
So I'm leaving, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you. Any of you have any other query? Any of you have any other query? Okay, so I'll keep my discussion up to this now, but I'll keep this screen on. If you want to stay, you can stay, because I'm going to solve it for the next 15 minutes. If I cannot solve it in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to take a break, and in that case I'll close this share screen, and whether it will stay or not, that's up to you. Okay, so here n into n minus 1, this is the number of spaces we have found, but that should be in reverse direction. That's what is bugging me. Just wait 1 second. Okay. So at I is equal to 1, this number of space is what is causing the problem, because it is in the reverse direction. And will it work? N minus I minus 1. Value of n is 5. 1 plus 4 into 3. This is giving me 13. 1 greater. For 2, it is giving me 1 minus 1 plus 3 into 2, 7. So it is always one step behind. So what about n minus 1 minus 1 and n minus 1 minus 2? In that case, is equal to 1, this will be 3 into 2, that will be 17 in that case. And for 2, 5 minus 2 minus 1, 3, 2, 5 minus 2, 3. Yes, it's working now. So the rule is something like this for odd row. Five stars, 3 stars here, 2 stars here, 1 star here. I plus 1 by 2 star separated by space, then 1 plus c minus I minus 1 into a minus I minus 2 number of spaces followed by again I plus 1 by 2 number of stars separated by space. Let me check here. But that's only for odd rows. If I give an extra space here, number of space here in fact is reducing. And then it comes here again. No, it has not worked. The left side has worked, the right side is not working. I'll check it out later. Okay, I'll check this pattern. Those who are still staying here, I'll check this pattern and the mathematics behind it. I have to explore it a bit. And we have to look into. I have to look into a larger pattern here, and then I'll look into what in fact the patterns behind the numbers here. So I'll discuss it in the next class. I hope within that I'll find it out. So I'm stopping the sharing. I'm stopping the recording.